got a hidden spark plug, you can't see it, you know.
So Tom had a hard time keeping this running a lot.
Yeah, he did. When I was there, he was
He
fighting
would
it.
fiddle with it.
Sure
When I
did
got
now.
it, the same thing.
Oh, yeah?
I really had a hard time.
What'd you do?
I'll talk about it.
Well, oh, okay.
Didn't have enough humidity maybe.
Yeah.
Of course. That's nice.
Yeah, that's about perfect.
Now, what I did at the show, I got hold of a full-size 1.5 horsepower John Deere just like that.
Made out of wall floor, built about 10 to 1 compression. I was running a lot of airplane coil. And the engine would go up to 6,000 horsepower. And at that point, it did not jump.
Not enough subject to that.
So we put it on an analyzer, engine analyzer, and all 4 plugs quit at 6,000. You'll see the spark jump to indicator that said it was didn't catch it. And that was a perfect way I put an RPM limit on the engine. So I was going to say is
I don't think I'll need a
just
spring
dial
on this one.
the primary voltage
Yeah,
on the
because the
coil
travel will
up
be about that much.
until
about
everything
16.
runs where you want it.
Will
And
the
the other thing is,
CO2 get
has,
around it?
has probably
It
something around
rises,
15,000 volts.
Gonna follow it.
In your case, it'd certainly drive it. And I already proved it.
Could use, sponge would be useful, except
If you have any
the,
problems with spark
the
jumping around,
air filter sponge,
crossfire, and
that stuff
everything
finally
like that,
disintegrates.
at the voltage,
The regular sponge, of
you'd
course,
be
dries.
surprised how far down it'll go
That's
from
the
the
use of real
top.
sponge.
There. And that was the only one that attended from BAEM anyway.
Speak up as much as you can.
And it was hot, it was dirty, it was dusty, and it was not too noisy, but smoky and stinky, and I had a great time. There was a lot of tractors, a lot of old engines running and stuff like that, a lot like Galt. When I went to a meeting of Branch 13 of Edge and TA in Placerville earlier this year, I was talking to a guy and about going to this show, and he said, yeah, I'm going to go, and I'm going to bring about 5 or 6 tractors, you know, to show and the thing. I said, well, need a driver? He said, yeah. So he said, look me up when you get down there. So I looked the guy up when I was there. Yeah, he had about 5 or 6 tractors. I got to drive a tractor in the parades, and which is really fun. My kid at heart, I guess. I just really enjoyed it. And they had a whole steam-powered sawmill going. And they had a hit-and-miss engine gold stamping mill, you know, going at the time.
Coin snapper? Coin?
No,
Snap?
core, ore, gold ore, stamp mill.
Oh, okay.
And so anyway, but now the same people are doing the Galt show, which is at McFarland Ranch, and that's coming up October 1st, I think, 1st and 2nd. The main show is on Saturday, I believe. Friday is for school kids and some other stuff, other people, I guess. I plan on going up probably for both days. And I've got a couple flyers out here for anybody that wants to go, information on it. And this one's a lot of fun too. There's a lot of old engines going on. There's a tractor parades and various tractors and stuff going on. And a few of us went there for the last couple of years. And so it's kind of fun. I don't know what else there is to talk about it, but
That's good.
so anyway, if you want to go ahead and take a flyer, or you can look it up online too. It's on the Edge and TA website. So
Okay. Let's talk about your engine. You're already standing.
Every step of the way, it's has little diagrams to show you what to do. Little arrows. You don't even have to be a good reader. Just read arrows. You get to the end of the thing, and it's pretty interesting what they talk about. They say that. Let's see. When leaving the factory, each engine has completed the oil needle setting, the mixture adjustment, the screws that adjust the carburetor are called oil needles. And for a good reason. When you get this thing running, it throws oil everywhere. Especially out the bottom of the crankcase. It doesn't have an oiling system. What they do is they use oil and fuel mixture. It runs on nitro, 20% nitro. And they talk about turning the needle out, the main needle 2 laps. Well, okay.
Laps.
I guess in China it makes sense.
Well,
And the other one 1.5 laps. So let's see if it runs.
How many cylinder?
1 cylinder, and it's overhead cam, and it runs. The overhead cam operates rocker arms.
You can see them on YouTube.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube.
They'll show you you can watch them build it and run it.
Does Banggood
And
do a
if you
lot
go to
of
the
engines?
right place,
Banggood's is a sales company in
They
China.
sell practically everything.
Yeah, I buy stuff from them.
and let's see if I can get it to run. I might have the same luck. Glow.
Is there an ignition on it?
Glow.
So self-sustained.
Anyway, that's it. Where do you get fuel these days? Well, there you go.
That's a fast idle.
Had to kill it. What was that question?
Fuel.
Fuel.
Model airplane fuel. Where do you
Yeah.
get it nowadays?
There's a whole bunch of different sites
Oh,
that sell
Tower.
it. Yeah, Tower
Okay.
sells it.
The hobby
Anybody that sells
shops.
model airplane stuff sells it.
Yeah, as long as it's glow plug. If you try to find diesel fuel, you got to buy it from some private guy that mixes it for you. As I found out.
But they have these things. This is a nitro engine, and they have the ones that are just straight gasoline, and it has to have a ignition system. The only tricky part was that the engine, when you buy the engine, it's about 300. I think it costs $325 for the engine kit, and it doesn't come with a base. It doesn't come with a fuel tank. It doesn't even come with a glow plug. You gotta buy your own glow plug for crying out loud. So
Is the engine assembled?
No, it's a kit.
You have to put all the pieces together?
you have to put all the pieces together. It has all. It's a real nice kit. Like I said, it's a good father-son project for the guy who wants to have one. Has all the pieces. This one came in a box, a wooden box, like that, and each layer is in foam, and all the little pieces are in that, set in that foam. A beautiful setup. It's really well done. And it comes with about 5 layers of pieces and parts, and you start with a crankcase, of course, and a cylinder, and put it together. And everything is on bearings, ball bearings, everything in here. Even the rod is on a ball bearing. The rod, main rocker.
So I presume it's all metric, and how many tools were required?
Actually, they supply the tools.
Oh, very good.
There's only a couple of things that are applied. The Allen wrenches, and
Very
they
good.
supply those, and they supply the little wrenches. And What they don't, I had to buy the tank, and I had to make the mounts for the tank. I made this stuff here to mount the tank on that platform. And the platform I had to buy, and so it was a fun project.
You ran out of logs.
Yeah, I've got about $325 in it now. It's $225 for the engine, and then the rest for all the rest of the junk. It's supposed to run on 7.5 volts, but I cheated. I've got a 12-volt battery. Really turns that starter over. I don't know how many more times it'll do it before it melts it. Anyhow, that's about all I have to say on that.
Thanks, George.
Here's the fog here on during our meeting on Saturday up in the Golden Gate Live Steamers area. Pretty foggy, and everybody here either has a jacket or wishes they brought a jacket.
So they have to take all these sound readings and make sure their equipment isn't putting out something that'll hurt the fish or whatever. And believe it goes on. A lot of it goes on. And some of them I just finished. I think he told me that 3 sets of them are going to go to England. And I've had them go to the Netherlands just to make this stuff all the time. But the company quit making it. But this is one of them I made. And one of the problems I have this little thread on the outside of it. 34 millimeter OD, 1 millimeter pitch, and you got to thread it. You ever try to thread something that short on a lathe? Well, I did. So it's got an internal thread too, and I thread those, and so the trouble I was having was getting little tiny tool bits to go inside and cut those things and get them accurately ground and sharp and get them true. So I got an idea, and so I made this little tool bit here. And all it is a holder for the tool bit, so that I can put it on my grinders and grind it. And rather than use regular grinder, I found that I've got a 1-inch wide sanding belt, and I can get in there and rough it out and rough it down, get off most of the metal, and then I go over to my other grinding equipment and grind the tool. But here's one of them. Little tiny tools.
Hold it up a little higher so we can see it against the white background, yellow background.
But anyway, believe me, when you try to get down and try to grind something that small, you ever done that? that's not easy to do and get it accurate. So with this thing, I can mount the tool in here, and I just milled out these slots. They're 10 thousandths wider than the tool bit, and so I got one for 3/16, and these are tool bits. And by the way, it tells you in here what these things are, and these are made in China. But let me read one of them here. It says CO5. You know what CO5 is?
Cobalt.
Cobalt 5%. And here's another one. CO8. Cobalt 8%. And I've got some more that are 10. And that means you'd think, well, a little tiny bit like that would be easy to grind, but when they're good cobalt, it takes a little bit to do.
Yep.
But anyway, that's what I was up to, and I was making these things, and I made a dozen of these. And since they're millimeters, this is 33 millimeter. And I don't know if you've ever worked with I don't know. You got to have a plug, you know, to try the threads and make sure it's right. So I made my own plugs. I made 33, 34, and 35 millimeter plug gauges, and they work good. And I could have made them out of steel, but I made them out of aluminum, 4130 on 2024, and they work good. And I've made literally hundreds of these things now. So and I just used the one to do the threading on this one, and this has nothing to do with the model building, but it does have applications. That little thread there is only 140 thousandths long, and there's about 3 threads on that thing. And so what I do, I got a I use this. I think I use this tool right here on the outside, and then I turn the chuck by hand. Don't turn on the power, and you set up your rig, whatever you want. Now, see, the nice thing about this is that it's metric, and my machine's SAE, so you can't engage and disengage the feed lever. You gotta, once you engage it, you can't touch it.
Well, on the other hand, when you only back out a very short distance, it doesn't take very long to recover.
No, well, your lathe has, I don't care what kind of lathe you got, you probably got a little backlash in there.
That's true.
You don't want to back it out, you got to back it off and then back it out.
Yes.
So, and besides that, you only 140 thousandths in the thread is all, and it's got a slot in there, 47 thousandths wide, and so you haven't got too much room, but it turned out to be pretty easy. So that's the reason I ended up making this, so I could grind a tool and grind it accurately.
So did you hand turn the lathe, or did you actually run it under power?
No, hand turn it. Three turns is all you want.
I understand that. That's the question.
So, but you put the thing in neutral so it turns easy, and you go in and you set up your DRO. If you got a DRO, set the DRO up and it's about five passes. So a 1 millimeter thread is fairly fine.
Yeah.
Where did you buy your tool bits?
Well, some outfit that I'm not sure. It might have been Travis or someplace like that. I don't know.
Banggood.com.
But the tool bits, they're Chinese and they turn out to be pretty good stuff. Though. Let's see.
Do you know what company you can order the tool bits from?
No, I've had these around for a long time, so I don't know.
You got to understand, he has more drawers of tool bits than I have tools.
And then one thing about I do this all in a 3-jaw chuck, and it's a you can true set the chuck. You know, you can turn it in and it's trued into about 1,000ths or so. But so when I put this in the chuck, I want to make sure everything is in the same position. So I take some red layout dye and put a line across it, and I have a place on my chuck that's got a little round button on it. So I always put it back in the same direction, and I use a parallel so I stop it. If you got one of those other fancy things, it would work, but you can't put it. It's too big.
But it's not to run 2 spark plugs on each cylinder. Since this isn't going into the air, I don't need all that.
So you have 2 6-cylinder ignition sets.
Each ignition is just for one bank.
Yeah.
They're
6-cylinder.
just the distributors just have 6 points, not 12. That way, the pickups in the distributors are far enough apart. I'm not going to get any arcing over. I did my own little board layouts for the electronic ignition. These are moped coils. They worked just fine on my 4-cylinder engine. And these distributors are about the same size as the one in the 4-cylinder engine. So that finally all came together. You know, things just keep on piling up as far as trying to finish this thing. This is oil supply to the camshafts. Copper tube that I silver soldered up. It goes to the pressure regulator here. And I did a really beautiful job on silver soldering these tubes into this little T and onto the little fittings that screw into the banjo nuts, and I think it was a little bit too perfect. This is just like capillary tube, and I think I got silver solder inside the tube.
Oh God.
You can't blow air in any direction. That damn thing. And I don't know. I'm thinking of connecting up compressed air to one end and then heating this thing up with a torch to try and blow the silver solder out. And if that doesn't work, I'll just start over. and maybe just use soft solder instead of silver solder. It's just low temperature oil, so
Yeah, the vibration may kill you.
it
Soft
may.
solder tends to crack.
But it's not going to run it for long. So.
And you'll notice the oil leak.
Yeah, well, it'll be British. Yeah.
Actually, I think the ones didn't leak very much.
With British engines, you pour the oil on the outside and let it soak in.
The whole trick there was, you know, putting the screw thread on, screwing this thing in, and then holding the whole head in the middle to get the square sides on the carburetor. Everything's a sort of pressed fit together, including the throttle. So I just brought that in this month. I want to thank Dwight for generously supplying the muffler. I was wondering how to make this thing. Going through back issues of our newsletter, looking for the pictures of the die set that Dwight had made to actually test the domes in this. But Dwight has graciously saved me a lot of work on things. So anyway, it's yeah, just making slow progress. Hopefully next month I'll have a little bit more.
You can make a noise.
Pretty soon, pretty soon. Just need now to finish the ignition in the box to put it on. And
It'll be as easy to start as that John Deere, huh?
yeah, hopefully it'll run. Hopefully it'll run. Anyway.
Of course it will.
Well, Dwight's given me some real good pointers.
Progress. What am I missing here? What's this stuff?
Okay, the rest of that's all from Dr. Bob donating to the club, so that's free to whoever wants anything there. If you want to make a donation on that
Icing would gone already.
on that tubing bender there, is just gathering dust at my house, so I finally cleaned out my shed, so that's the rest of it right there. So that's his donation.
Is dimensionally accurate, although resin shrinks when you cure it. But once you know the ratio, it's consistent. So anyway, did this, and of course, the higher something is, the longer it takes to print, right? Because these are 50 micron layers. So I thought, that's stupid. Print this, And this side by side, no, it takes half as long. Because it doesn't matter how much you print horizontally, it's just the height that takes time. So that's this. And when I calculated the accuracy, this bore is now exactly 0.5 inches. I mean, within a couple tenths. And then I thought, boy, this is going to be easy. I don't have to machine flywheels. And you print the flywheel, I'll pass it around if you want. But I thought I'd just wrap solder around that. And then I realized that I have one of the largest supplies of lead solder probably in Vallejo, and I didn't want to use it for that. So I thought, design iteration number 35. We'll print this puppy side, so the groove is sideways. I'll fill in plaster of Paris, put this on it, finish machining it, which I wouldn't have to, and away you go. And you think, well, how fine can this stuff get? This is a screw-in battery compartment closer. A friend of mine, he broke his, and I printed it, including the threads. And this was on my coarser, what do I want to say, 2,000 pixel wide machine. The 4,000 wide machine would print a lot better, but this is entirely usable. This is one of the rejects because life happens, and when you print 10 of them, 4 or 5 will be okay, and the other 3 will be a little off. But it works. So the intent is then to finally translate this to metal as well. But I'll put the 3D print files out there for people to play if they want to, because it doesn't take much mechanical ability to put it together. What kind of printer are you using? This is, the brand is called QIDI. It's from China. And these are printed on their model called an iBox, which is a monochrome printer. And most of the early resin printers were color LCD screens, and they last about 500 hours, and then you got to put a new one in because they just burn out. The newer ones are monochrome, so they print about 10 times faster, and they last about 2,000 hours. And so this is called a Quiddy iBox, 5-inch box. Because I've got 2 of their others, they said, how would you like to buy one for half price? Let me think about that one for a second. And so I bought it through Amazon, and then I sent them the purchase info, and they sent me $350 through PayPal. Normally it's a $600 printer, $700 printer actually. But it's 8 by 5 by 8, so it's a pretty big printer. But I can print. The plan is to print the next engine casting patterns or the waxes if we want to do lost wax on the printer. They now have really good lost wax resin. Print it, put it inside of a big batch of plaster and heat it up. The problem with, of course, lost wax is you're talking about 15-20 hours of burnout just to get the wax out of the pattern. And if you're smart, while it's hot, then you pour the metal in. But then, of course, you get these really beautiful, finished castings that are very accurate. So anyway, it works. And the only thing, they've got what they call FDM, which are the ones who use the plastic string. They actually make, depending upon the printer you buy and what it'll print, they actually make, really usable parts. This stuff tends to be a bit brittle, although this isn't the high temperature. I plan to print pans in their other printer that handle 160 degrees C. That's way more than oil temperature. So you can print nice stuff, and of course, if you're brave, you can go nail off and have it printed in metal. But I'll tell you, I think to have this printed in metal would probably be $300-400. I think I'd cut metal first rather than that. But it's working, and they're doing glass fiber and everything else, and printing nylon. I mean, basically, most of the car companies are now printing parts for their cars. They're spending billions on print facilities because, of course, the idea of making engineering change